Alright, I have added them all onto one single pile, and those are 15 books. 15 books for which I am unsure whether I want to continue with them or not. 15 books that now have to go into a try chapter video. So let's start this adventure. I basically put them all on a pile next to my bed, and I'm just gonna go through them in that order, which means that today I'm starting with The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock. So I'm gonna be reading some, like the first chapter in this, but I think I'm aiming for some like 25 pages, something around that. So if there are short chapters, I might read more than one. If it's a long chapter, I might not even read a full chapter. So let's just get this party started. Alright, it's the next morning because I fell asleep, so that'll already tell you what my conclusion is here. So basically, of course, all these things are going to be like super introductory because it's the beginning of a story, but the kind of clue here will be like, does it catch my attention? Do I want to continue after having finished those first two chapters? And in this case, I would say no. I think the first chapter still worked pretty well. Like in the first chapter, we have the character of Mr. Hancock, and there's kind of sort of like little hooks in that sort of chapter that got me interested, or like the way in which it was told from time to time also got me interested. But there were also certain things that kind of annoyed me. There was this sort of like something to the writing style that on occasion would really work well for me, as I said, because it gave nice hooks into the story. But at other points in time, I was just like, yeah, this doesn't really work for me. Like, for example, saying like, because it's a rainy day, there wouldn't have been much birds on the sky, but on the rooftop. But if there would have been a raven, and that raven would have flown out, then this is what he would see. And I found that to be so orchestrated that didn't really work for me. And then you have this sort of like intermediary chapter that's kind of an omniscient narrator, I guess, kind of talking to the reader, which also didn't really work all that much for me. And then the second chapter is from the perspective of another protagonist, who is basically this woman who was a mistress to this wealthy guy, and she thought she had her whole life settled, but then he passed away and forgot to put her in his will. So now she's down on her luck, and she kind of needs to use her street smarts to survive. But in that chapter, we have like, we use the N-word, and we use the and we call women by a derogatory term. And in neither case, I felt like it was absolutely needed to do so. And so I found it very weird that we're doing it. Like the N-word was used in a description. So it's not like the character herself or something like that uses the N-word, which I could kind of say, like, historically speaking, I can kind of understand you using that. But this was the narrator using that word as a description for two girls that were in the scene. And I was like, why would you use that word in a description? Like, you know that your readers are modern day readers, and so there's no need for your narrator, even though it's a historical book, to use those terms, right? And then the S word was also used in the sense that I was like, but why even include that derogatory term for women in this context? You know, I really didn't find that necessary, and combined with that N word, that just made me go like, ugh. So there wasn't enough in the scene to make me want to continue on with the story. I'm not interested enough in this character, for example, to want to see what her journey is going to be. And we haven't had a hint of her mermaid yet. It was hinted at the most, like it was set up the most in the first chapter. But even there, I was not fully convinced. So I think that I'm just going to put it aside. I know I said I was going to give all of these as sort of like fair shots in this try chapter tag, but honestly, I cannot even make it through this first chapter. And knowing what the story is about, I'm also like, yes, I think it's an interesting story and stuff like that, but I just don't particularly want to read it. I think I'm fine having seen the movie, so bye-bye. Day 3, and I'm literally already floundering, but I think I'm gonna add a different layer to this particular unhaul. So rather than just doing a try chapter with all of them, I will be looking up which ones of these are available in my library. And the ones that are available in my library I'll add them to my library wish list, and then bye-bye, they're gone. If at any point in time I want to read it, I can then go and get them from my library. The goal in any case is once I reach TBR 0 is to kind of like regularly check in, like that I get something off of my Goodreads TBR, that I take something off my library TBR, that I buy a new book, for example. But it's not to just constantly be buying new books or to just be able to read whatever is new and up and coming. I still want to get around to some of the stuff that over the past few years I've been marking as one to read, but just haven't been able to get around to. And so that being said, I do want to actively look at my library at that point in time. And so adding these books to that library wish list still gives the possibility that I might eventually get around to them, though I will definitely admit that I am not entirely sure how likely it is, since I am now already indicating that I'm not really that interested in these. But so for Tender is the Night, I know it is available in my library. It's also available on script, but I personally believe that I probably won't. So for this one, actually, I probably won't even add it to my library wish list. If at some point or another this one pops up because somebody's talking about it because they really love it, then I'm sure I can just look it up again at that point in time. But yeah, as I indicated in my unhaul section, I actually really am not that interested in reading this one, so I'm gonna very fondly say goodbye to it, because I'm just finding myself not really giving a whole lot about it. So the problem that I have with this challenge, which I also had the last time that I did a try chapter unhaul, is that I basically have already decided to get rid of it. And so I'm not really putting in the energy into the try chapter to actually give them a fair shot. So maybe this video is just gonna turn out me being me giving up on all of these because I'm just cannot be bothered to actually give them a fair chance. But hey, so be it then, if that's what it's gonna be. But so strike number 3, Tenders the Night can go. Good morning, guys. So after the revelation yesterday, I have looked up whether all of these are available in my library, and all except for 4 are available in my library. So 4 I will still be doing the try chapter tag with after this clip. But so these are the ones that are going. Like, I debated like 2 of them, but in the end I just decided, like, you know what, that just means, if I'm debating that, that just means that I should be picking them up from my library quicker, and so time will tell whether there's a real reason why I'm debating keeping these or not. So they're all gonna go, they're all on my library wish list now, and so when I get to TBR 0, hopefully I'll still get around to some of these that way. So we have A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness by Arundhati Roy, Trainspotting by Irvin Welsh. I actually think that I might want to watch the movie before I even consider reading it. It'll probably help me figure out the Scots here, which was the main problem. I already tried reading this at some point. But so if I just watch the movie first, and then I can decide if I want to like also read the book, and then hopefully it'll be a little bit more easy to, you know, translate the Scots, because I will be able to know a little bit better what the story is and, you know, what type of dialogue there's kind of like. So yeah, I'm thinking that the movie is my next order of business when it comes to Trainspotting. Oscar and Lucinda by Peter Carey, Gingerbread by Helen Oyeyemi, For Whom the Bell Tolls by Ernest Hemingway, Actress by Anne Enright, and The Children Act by Ian McEwan. So quite a few. So out of my 15 books that I set off with at the beginning of this video, I am already getting rid of 11 of them, and so 4 of them I still need to do the try chapter tag with. And so yeah, moving on to that part of the video. Hello, morning, Cleo here. So where are we at? We need 4 more books we need to decide on 4 more books. So 4 more books that should be going through the try a chapter tag, but I've decided about one of these in the meantime. So I've decided that I should have gotten rid of this book years ago, basically like 2.5 years ago or something, when I did my first sort of like major unhaul, in which I went through, you know, all the books that I've ever acquired, because up until that point I don't think I really ever got rid of books. And so at that point in time I went through all of those and got rid of quite a few that I was like, why did I even purchase these in the first place? When am I ever going to get around to these? At that point in time, I should have gotten rid of this book because I had read the first book and didn't like it. But since joining BookTube, I'd only heard positive things about that series. So I was kind of feeling like, but maybe I should give it another go. Maybe I should reread the first one. Maybe I should continue because clearly BookTube does love this series, and maybe I just wasn't in the right headspace when I read it and things like that. But I know that there are a lot of books, for example, that BookTube loves that I don't. So, or that I don't think are anything spectacular, because it's not like I dislike this book neither. So I shouldn't hang on to that sort of sense that, maybe past me was wrong. I'll just trust in past me. And I should not have bought the second book before reading the first one. And so Waking Gods is going to just disappear from my TBR, which is sad because it is an absolutely stunning cover. But yeah, I just don't want to prioritize this book when I am basically already procrastinating on it for all that time because of the fact that I don't expect to like it. So why not just get rid of it now? So I'm gonna let go of Queen Loana, I think the name is, because I don't know, the writing style wasn't really doing it for me. In principle, I think it is a quite interesting plot, because basically this guy wakes up and he can like remember a whole lot about literature and books. He can remember a whole lot of things that he's read in his life, but he cannot remember who he is, who his family members are, or anything like that. He doesn't remember anything about his personal life. But the writing style, I don't know, or like, yeah, it uses a lot of quotes, but those quotes aren't particularly like recognizable to me or anything like that. And yeah, I don't know, there was just something about the writing style. There was like a whole page describing how he was, he using toothpaste, how he was brushing his teeth, because that was like a test that his doctor gave him to see whether he still knows how to do these things. And so there was like a whole page on that I was just like bored with after like 2 sentences or so. So I decided to also get rid of that one. Alright guys, it's the 29th of November. It is time for me to tackle the final 2 books in this unhaul project, because I need it to be over with. So far we've had success on none of these. I will definitely say that I have not been giving these a completely fair shot, but the reason why they're in this video to begin with is because I was already losing interest with them, and so they kind of needed to shock me, I guess, in order for me to still keep them around. So we'll go over the final 2 ones within this video, but chances are I'm gonna do the exact same thing as I've done with all 13 others so far, and I'm just gonna say nope. Okay, I'm gonna read out a sentence to you, because I showed a little clip earlier, I think, of like what the first page looked like, and it had like 1 and then like 1 line, and then it started 2. But so each number corresponds to 1 sentence. But Jesus, I'm not even going to read you the full sentence. But so, number 5. It had begun suddenly, without preamble, without presentiment, preparation, or rehearsal. At one specific sorry, but I am not in the headspace to be reading this right now. That was actually quite comprehensible section. Maybe I should read the entire book out aloud. Maybe that will help. But so, in any case, this book basically then in total contains how many sentences is it going to contain? It looks like the structure changes towards the ends. But so, and there are multiple subsections, I guess. And yeah, so each sort of like subsection starts again from 1. So I cannot say how many phrases in total this book contains, but let's just say that I'm gonna pass. Did I give it only 3 pages? Yes, I only gave it 3 pages. But yeah, this is the second time that I read it because part of what I just read to you, I highlighted. I highlighted one line out of that because I thought that that was a very nice description. But so I previously tried it and failed to continue with it. I had completely forgotten that I'd previously tried it. And so I try it again now, but it's just like to have like a one sentence over multiple pages or over more than a page is just something that I'm not down for. I'm not interested in reading that anymore. I have struggled through books like that in the past, and I've also been happy with the way in which they have in which the experience has developed. For example, I'm thinking there of Duck's Newburyport by Lucy Ellmann, which only contains 8 phrases in a over 1,000 page book. And I did overall enjoy that. I did think that that had its merits. But on the other hand, I also did to the end come to the conclusion that if I were to have to tell somebody whether the book was worth it, whether it was worth getting through those 1,000 pages for the experience that I ended up having with it, I would have said no. And so this doesn't have that amount of pages, but I think the conclusion remains the same, is that this type of structure where I'm struggling to fully grasp what is happening, where it's kind of stream of consciousness wise, while it can still play out well, while I can still enjoy the overall book based on that structure, it isn't overall an experience that I'm looking for, an experience that I want to recreate, something that was so enjoyable that I'm like, oh yeah, no, give me that. No, mainly when I see those things now, I'm like, oh no, not another one of those. Meaning we've only got one more left to go through, and I think that this is going to go to the cherry shop regardless. So maybe I should just give myself a break here and not force myself. I might want to read like 2 or 3 pages in it just to see the writing style, just to know how much I want to prioritize Joyce Carol Oates' writing in a future book. Because so this is Heat and Other Stories, so it's a short story collection by Joyce Carol Oates. And so Joyce Carol Oates is the favorite author of one of the booktubers that I follow, which is Eric Carl Anderson, also known as the Lonesome Reader. And so he really likes her writing. But so as I indicated in the first video in this series, I don't think that short stories is the best way for me to be introduced to an author. And so I might want to try a few pages just to get an idea for her writing style, but I don't think I'm gonna make myself get through an entire short story, because I really think that regardless of whether I like that short story, I still am gonna want to put this one down and pick up another book by her. I think what's most likely gonna be a book by her that I will pick up at some point is her Marilyn Monroe book. She basically, I don't remember whether it's just called Marilyn or whether it has another title, but she basically has a sort of like fictionalized account of Marilyn Monroe's life. And so that's probably a book that I might want to read, but I also know that that is quite a chunker. But so I think I'm just going to go through a few pages to kind of see what her writing style is like. And that's kind of going to give me an indication of whether I want to prioritize her as a writer or not. Alright guys, so I read a few pages of that, and I do think it is quite a fluid writing style. I don't really have any problems with the writing style so far. So I think that if at some points I will definitely be trying out this author. I don't think it's like a high priority. It isn't like anything about it is blowing me away or I'm like sucked into this short story immediately or anything like that. But it's definitely something that in combination with a plot that sounds interesting to me, because I haven't really looked into much of her writing, that could be something that really works well for me. So it's definitely one to keep on my radar. But as I said, the short story collection I am going to let go. I am totally wrong now. So that means that this unhaul second video was totally unnecessary. I could have just gone with my gut feeling that was telling me that I didn't really have much of an interest anymore in these books, and so that I might as well get rid of them. I kind of wanted to give them another chance because I kind of felt like, am I just getting rid of these books now because I want to get to that 0 TBR and I'm getting impatient with myself? Perhaps that's still the case. But in that case, that reasoning still held true throughout this entire unhaul process. I didn't even do the try chapter tag for half of these books. So yeah, you can shout about this to me in the comments. I definitely feel like some of these maybe I should have given a better chance, but so as I indicated, for the ones that are available in my library, I will be keeping an eye on them there, and so hopefully, and so maybe at some point in the future when I'm going to be checking out my library more, I might pick one of those up and give them a chance that way. But so yeah, we'll see. Maybe I won't be picking them up in the years to come, and then that's an indication of the fact that indeed I didn't actually have much of an interest in them. So I think I feel pretty confident in saying that for all of these books, I really didn't really have much of an interest anymore. They were really mainly there because they had lingered on my shelves or because they had been added to my shelves in some way or another. Some were added to that for free, some I got at a bargain sale, some I really got at full price because I was interested in them at some point. But over the years, that interest has dwindled, or over the years, it has become clear that out of all the books on my shelves, these are the ones that just didn't make it. And so I don't feel particularly guilty about the fact that I'm going to get rid of all 15 of those now, especially since that means that at this point in time, my TBR is down to 34 books, which I find amazing, which I am super happy about, and makes me a little bit more positive about being able to get this done maybe in like half a year's time, though that is a little bit of a stretch considering how I reduced my TBR by 50 books this year, I guess, but that includes these 15 unhauled books. And so that might not end up happening anymore with the remaining 34. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening in 2022. I don't know yet whether I'm going to try and give myself a sort of like time limit for finishing this or not. But in any case, I'm very happy with this reduction that happened here. These are books that have been on my shelves for a while now and that clearly I wasn't all that interested in. So let me know if there are any books on this list that you think I should have given a better chance, books that you've read and really enjoyed that you wish I would have given their fair due, because let's be reasonable, I didn't give them a fair due. And maybe I will add them back onto my sort of like want to read list on Goodreads so that I can be sure to still keep them on my radar and potentially pick them up at a later date. But so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video and see you guys for the next one. Bye!